This clip was taken from our interview with Austin Rutherford, and he talks about how he had aspirations and dreams to play in the NBA, but how that quickly shifted into him getting into real estate. Now he's done over 300 transactions in the real estate game and has over 300,000 followers on Instagram. So if you like this video, squeeze that button down below, subscribe to the channel, and let's dive in.
But for me, I wanted to be rich. I wanted the cars and the houses and the vacations and the watches and all that stuff, right? You know, I got a buddy that always says it doesn't matter where your motivation comes from as long as you're motivated. You know, it can be motivation to, you know, prove everybody wrong, or it can be motivation to get out of, you know, wherever you're at in your personal circumstances. Mine was to get money, right? So originally, I thought that plan was going to be by going to the NBA. That was the original goal. Didn't really work out. But I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, moved to Arizona to play a year of basketball out there at a prep school to pursue that NBA dream. Got to a point where I hated the rock. I hated basketball, never wanted to touch it again. So I kind of went back to, like, you know, I guess what I knew, you know, ever since I was younger, I was always hustling, making money, flipping candy in school, making Buckeye necklaces and selling them at Ohio State football games, cutting grass, shoveling driveways with snow. In Ohio, we got snow. So just making money. So when I kind of like started hating basketball in Phoenix, I picked up a valet job, just a way to make money. And at that point, I ended up reading a book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Nice. Kind of opened up my mind to the possibilities of being successful outside of being an athlete or a rapper. And I was sitting on my rooftop journaling, and it was like a 9-unit apartment building. Knew nothing about real estate. But I was sitting there, I was like, if 9 people are paying one person rent, that one person got to be doing all right. That's kind of like the light bulb moment. And ever since then, you know, I started buying like as many like books and like little courses and stuff I could learn to get into real estate, learn the game. Moved back to Ohio, ended up buying my first rental property when I was 20 years old. It was a duplex on Ohio State University's campus. Ended up buying my second house at 21, flipped that 6 months later, made $107,000 net profit 4 days after my 22nd birthday. Reinvested literally every single penny into the business, and you know, I've done 300 plus deals ever since then. So it all started with the NBA dream, though.
That's awesome. So the first question is so you said that you've always wanted to be rich, right? Yep. Since you were a kid. Like, was that something that maybe you saw from your family? Like, where did that was it somebody? Was it circumstance? Was it just something you felt that was inside you?
Yeah. So we were never wealthy and we were never poor. You know, we always had enough, always had what I wanted, loved my parents to death, always provided for me. But like, we never had the massive houses, the Ferraris, the Lambos, anything like that. So I think at the end of the day, like, I love competition and I love to win. And, I'm looking at people, I'm like, like there's people live like that, right? Like, it's actually possible. And I say, there's a saying that's borrowing belief from somebody else. So when you're in a position of being broke, or living where you don't want to live, or driving a car you don't want to drive, it's sometimes hard to get motivated yourself. So I look at somebody else, I'm like, man, like, if they can do it, why can't I? I'm going to borrow their belief. Like, if you look at me now, I believe this shit. So like, I need somebody to look at me and borrow my belief to be in the same position I am in a few years. And it's a never ending journey to keep growing. But I think I just saw people winning and I wanted to be a part of it.
That's awesome. And then you said you picked up Think and Grow Rich. Was it literally an accident? Was it a recommendation? Like, that's not just a random book that you're going to find on lots of bookstores that are out and about, right?
Yeah. So you're like the third person that asked me, and it was in Phoenix, Arizona, while I was playing basketball. I don't remember who gave it to me. I wish I did, because I would thank them. But I think it was like one of like the other players' dads, I think is who ended up giving it to me. And it changed my life 100%.
Yeah.
So
I love that book.
Ask, Logan, is that a book that you have behind you? Logan has every big entrepreneurial book out there. Do you have that behind you?
I don't have it behind me, but I've read it multiple times. I actually I did a podcast series with so I used to own a gym, and with my trainers, like, we literally every single week we would pick a chapter, I'd have them read it, and we would do like our own little round table, and we turned into a podcast on that book. I mean, it's a great book. It's Sam, it's another must read.
Yeah, I'm not a big reader. It's just, I've got a grad degree. I read enough in school, spent enough of my time like reading, now I'm just like, I'm allergic to books. I love knowledge and I love wisdom, but to me, right, this is how I consume my wisdom. Surrounding myself with people like Logan, like Austin, like the other amazing people that we have on here, and I let them read the books, and then I just come in and just soak up the wisdom. But one thing that I wanted to ask is, this is really kind of interesting. You've basically been someone who's kind of been entrepreneurial your entire life, it sounds like, right? You were basically flipping candy, which is always, I think, you're not the first person to come here and say that. And I'm like, God dang, why was I not flipping candy when I was like in third grade? Like, I would have been a billionaire by now. Does that come from, was there someone earlier on in your life who kind of had that hustler kind of entrepreneurial spirit that they kind of gave to you?
Yeah. I honestly think no, the answer, but I think the way my parents raised me, like I pray to God when I have kids, I can raise my kids the same way. Like there's always one story that sticks out to me. It was the NBA dreams, right? I would literally work out like all day, every day, like 3 times a day. Like that was my life, was making it to the league. And they were like, Austin, you're going to blow your knees out. I was like, I don't need knees if I don't make it to the league. There was one morning I was in middle school, and I would ride my bike to the YMCA at 5 a.m. when they open. I'd get a 2-hour workout in the morning. I'd ride my bike, I'd shower, I'd ride my bike to school, I'd go to practice. After practice, I'd ride my bike back to the gym, get another workout in, and then ride home and do it every single day. And one morning, I would call my dad. My dad, again, always supported me. Like, anything you need, let us know. And I was like, yo, Pops, like, you trying to come rebound for me at 5 a.m. in the morning? And like right after he said, whatever you need, I got you, I asked him, and he was like, nah. And it hurt, right? I was like, you just said that. Wait a minute. And he woke me up the next morning, and he was like, let's go. And I don't know why, but like that's always stuck to me, is like,
awesome.
You can do anything you want to. You just got to go out there and do it. And, it wasn't like entrepreneurial necessary, but it ties back to like hard work and going after what you want. And, money solves problems. Money provides a lot of things that a lot of things in this world can't. I go to argue almost anything, any problem can be solved with money. So if you have money, like, you don't have problems anymore.
Yeah. That's awesome. What I've seen a lot, and especially with even just with us 3 here, but a lot of the other high-level entrepreneurs that we've had on the show, is a lot of them do have an athletic background of some sort, and like they're all different. Like, we've had professional football players on here, we've had really good basketball players on here. Sam was a collegiate tennis player, and so ultimately, like, I think there's something to be said about that competitiveness. That, like, I was never an entrepreneur growing up, but I was competitive. Like, I wanted to win. And I think there's a lot of the same values that you need to, that you need to, or skills that you need to learn as an athlete, that transfer over to values as an entrepreneur. And so I think, like, we love to hear like the entrepreneurs who were like flipping candy, but like, I'm sure the goal wasn't to flip candy. It was just like, oh, like, I want to make some money because it's fun, or like there's some sort of competition, or maybe you wanted to buy something with it. Maybe you want to take a girl out. Who knows, right?
Well, I would love to hear your take on this, Austin. It's something that I've kind of spoken about before, and it's especially with people with athletics backgrounds, right? Yep. I think that athletes do one thing a lot. Athletes train like hell. Period. Yep. They train like hell. But during their training, it's this. I've always noticed this. This was always the case with me and pretty much every other athlete I've met. I'm curious to hear your take on this. But when you're training, you're not thinking about training. You're thinking about game day. You're thinking about having 1,000 people in the stand cheering your name. You're thinking about winning, right? So I think the one thing about athletes that kind of sets them apart from a lot of, other people is that they're extremely high level visualizers. Visualization is so critical, but then coupled with they put the process first. Yeah. If you don't show up at the YMCA at 5 a.m. to get your 2 hours in, like, forget game day. It ain't gonna happen. So sure. I think it's for me at least, I would think that the thing that sets athletes apart, hyper visualizers, and they are process oriented first and foremost.
No, 100% agreed. I mean, man, people laugh at, like, when people say manifestation and stuff. That is a very, very real thing. Like, I custom built a house at 24 years old, and it was everything I dreamed about at the time. You know, I had the weight room in the basement, had the 3-car garage out back, had the basketball hoop out back, the hot tub, the huge master walk-in shower. You know, it was everything I wanted at the time. And it's like, man, like, you know, I built it, you know what I mean? And I didn't even plan it. I bought the land a year and a half prior to actually building it. I woke up one day, I was like, man, like, it'd be dope to build a house. I was like, I got a piece of land, let's do it. And then, you know, year and a half, 2 years after that, I had the Rolls Royce in the car next to the Range Rover, which is what I always visualized. And like, it's crazy, like how that stuff actually works. And I just bought this house 2 months ago. Always dreamed about having this big house with a roundabout driveway in it. And it's crazy how that stuff actually comes to fruition. I couldn't agree with you more. People laugh at it. I think it's one of the most powerful things out there.
I think people's biggest struggle is not knowing what they want. So that's why they don't get anything. And like, if you spend a lot of time visualizing or getting clear on what you want, all of a sudden, when you have a goalpost, you know exactly how many yards away you are from it. And then all of a sudden it just becomes a math equation, right?
Agreed.
And it's elementary math.
For sure. I think something even more powerful when I first heard this, it really put things in the picture. Knowing what you want, there's so many things that you want, right? You know, most people don't have a clear picture because they want everything, right? So I reverse engineer it, and it's write down what you don't want. What do you not want your life to look like? I don't want to have to go to an office every day. I don't want to manage 100 people on my team. I don't want to have to be away from my fiance and my family. Like, I don't want to have to miss the holidays. I don't want to have to miss my kids' football games. So what do you not want? That gets very clear on what you actually want in life. So get very clear on that, and then figure out how to build a life around that. Too many people build their life around their business. They build a business and they fit in their life where they want. You need to know what life you want and then build a business around that lifestyle. People have it backwards.
Hey, if you like this clip and you want to see the full podcast, go over to theordinarystorypodcast.com. Follow the podcast, leave it a review, and if you like content like this, comment down below. Let me know your biggest takeaway.